Hello, Red vs. Blue fans. Welcome back to the Red vs. Blue After Show with the Rooster Team reviews on AFTERBUZZ TV. We are looking at Season 16, Episode 6 tonight, A Pizza the Action. We're also going to be talking about Pilot Month, vegan pizza, and why it's a really bad idea to make fun of a visiting god. See you after the opening.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Feels good, man.
You always got to make time for that.
Yeah. You gotta fill the silence. It's still radio.
It is still radio, but you gotta love yourself some good old-fashioned Trocadero. I mean, come on. Welcome back, guys. We are the Red vs. Blue After Show on Rooster Team Reviews on AFTERBUZZ TV. We are well into Season 16 and having a grand old time. We are looking at Season 16, Episode 6, A Pizza the Action. And with me, of course, I have my wonderful co-host whom I adore, Megan Salinas.
Hey, guys!
Mark Donica.
Hit me.
And I'm Katie Cullen. Yeah, let's get right into it. Tonight we are starting with Pilot Month. We're going to talk about the new pilots that Rooster Teeth has released all this month. Mm-hmm. We're still short one because, what is it called? Murder House? The last one doesn't premiere until tomorrow.
I forget offhand.
As do I.
Murder Room.
Murder Room, thank you.
Room.
I wrote down the ones that we were able to watch. So we have Branded, Gork's Quest, Achievement Hunter, and $1 Million But Animated. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite?
I would say tie between $1 Million But Animated and Achievement Hunter. Those were by far the most fun, and Achievement Hunter it's probably tied with my feelings about like BuzzFeed Unsolved, like in terms of taking the ghost hunting sort of thing and running with it in a fun, lighthearted way, as opposed to the dark and dour, serious, ooh, isn't it scary sort of approach that a lot of the ghost hunter shows sort of take these days.
Yeah. Immediately, it's hard not to watch new stuff and not have the producer mind go through. Mm-hmm. And so far, when it comes to entertainment versus budget versus available cast versus everything, Gork's Quest will probably be picked up because it is a table show with an animated robot, presumably using
voice filter,
Adobe CC Animate. Adobe has a live animating program that you can essentially just put features on, and the person on who is on camera controlling it can then control a variety of different things. And with Gork, we got head turns and hand turns and all this stuff. But I would say on the whole, Achievement Hunter was definitely my favorite because it takes what those fellas are in front of a controller and just puts them in an entirely new atmosphere and still lets them each be those personalities that, if you're a fan of the Let's Play family, they still enact themselves. I like how we got Team Same Voice, Team Nice Dynamite, and Lindsay was amazing. I thought she was a highlight for me. Even and Jeremy, just like, I'll punch a ghost. I don't give a damn. All of this show is money, and the only thing is like, oh well, it's budget because then you hire actors for the reenactments and all this stuff. So in terms of how much budget they can have, I wonder if we'd get maybe a 6-episode season. How they didn't have to travel far; they stayed in state. It was just a road trip. But now, what if you're traveling to Europe? What if you're traveling to California? What if you're traveling all over the country, all over the world?
Plenty of haunted locales.
There's plenty of haunted locales, but that's another thing. How many have been played out? And how many can you put the spin of Achievement Hunter on? Not to say that I like the show and I really want it to continue, but budget-wise, it's one of those ones that's really up there because it's a big cast, big crew, a lot of tech, but very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah.
I think I'm going to make this unanimous because my favorite was also Achievement Hunter.
Nice.
I'm not usually into ghost hunting shows, and as everyone on this panel knows and has heard 1,000 times, I lived in a haunted house for a good chunk of time. Mm-hmm. So watching people overact to the thermometer may or may not be going off is like, yeah, okay, I know you need to make the episode interesting. This did not need that. You were absolutely right about just throwing the right mix of personalities into the right situation. And I have to wonder how much of it was, if there was any of it that was scripted or pre-planned, because there were a few things that were like, no, this is a little too perfect.
Really clean storybook. So like somewhere in the library, like sure the setup was there, but it's like, oh, we got to put the story in here for the pilot. Ryan, like, oh, I like reading to my kids, so let me read to Stacy. Yeah.
For me, it was the cage bit, actually. Just the fact that it was there and convenient and usable. I'm not surprised they set up the nun prank for Jeff. I'm not in any capacity surprised that was a thing of wonder and glory.
Or the ghost.
The Dr. Code.
The Dr. Code. For Jeff's like, oh, was that you, boy? Yeah, idiot. Like, that's your nice timeline.
Of course it was me.
So we're doing it already. Let's just talk about Achievement Hunter right now.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I definitely think setting the sort of atmosphere with the campfire. That was a brilliant way to bring everybody in, because that's what a lot of scary stories end up being told around. It's just friends around a campfire, and having Lindsay like eat the marshmallows as they're doing the reenactments was a wonderful
She's that
touch.
person.
She was living her best life. I've done 3 marshmallows at a time. She had like 12, all perfectly toasted. Like, teach me your ways.
She's all about the chaos. She's the mistress of chaos.
But that's beautiful, though.
Yeah, definitely check out her series Chaos Corner. I think we talked about it last week, the week before.
So.
We were talking about Jeff yelling.
Yes.
But yeah, they established Jeremy and Lindsay as Team Lock and Load on an episode of Chaos Corner between the two of them, and seeing them come to, like everybody coming together as their teams, and Jeff being like, oh no, I'm not doing no.
I'm fine. I'm just going to stay here. No, we really need you in the church with the nuns?
I think it makes total sense, though, that he would take that controller backseat, for as long as he possibly could. And one of my favorite things is when Gavin and Michael do Let's Plays of scary games together, like when they did Slender Man and the first Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, they have a wonderful dynamic when they're in a situation where scary things are supposed to happen.
I would highly recommend Outlast as well.
Oh
really
my
good.
God! Outlast.
Really good. They did 1 and 2.
I have not seen their Let's Play of it, so that sounds fantastic.
Super good.
Still go back to FNAF 1. We're gonna get got. We're gonna get got. We're gonna get got.
Where's the duck?
Where's the duck?
or Gavin, more in the Slender one of Gavin freaking out before anything happens, and Michael just yelling at him like, "We lost you, idiot!" Oh God, they're such a good team, and I hope in the future they play with the dynamic of, they can put anybody together, and it's a good mix up, and having different people at the control center, making Jeff go out for various things, and not in the same. All right, he's the man in the box trope, and then we're gonna prank him at the last second.
I'm your guy in the chair.
Guy in the chair. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of.
That's my biggest concern about this particular sort of setup. I loved the reenactments, and I think there was a lot of fun to be done in terms of the quote-unquote research portion, where they get the actors. And normally so many other shows, like including the Amazon run for lore and a lot of urban legend shows, a lot of these shows do reenactments to set the stage for when they actually go to these dilapidated haunted places. To have that portion of the show be absolutely not taken seriously is a breath of fresh air.
It reminded me of $1 Million Butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was really great to see that. And then I think the one thing for me is that they're going to have to, with the various, if they do get picked up, with the various locations that they do, I feel like they do have to keep those dynamics fresh. Because now that we've seen what they're going to do when they drop this group of people into a haunted house together, we're like, okay, we know that they're going to try to prank each other. How do we keep that dynamic fresh and interesting?
What I'm thinking of for that one, and it goes hand in hand with what you said, Mark, about production costs and travel and whatnot, this would be a really good show to film when they travel for conventions, because it splits up the team in different ways depending on who's going where at what time, and then they wind up, there's a ton of haunted stuff out here in LA and just in the surrounding areas. They wind up in New York, they go to Boston, they go to London, they go to Australia. So this is something that, depending on who you have and what your schedule is, you can definitely do a lot of travel if you piggyback it off of convention trips. So I'm wondering if having the whole team together to do one big thing locally was this is the pilot thing, And now that we have the concept down, they might start divvying it up into smaller teams and working it into extant travel.
It's not a bad idea. And just making it, you're already out there, you're already on this sort of a travel budget for whatever. Now time to, or just everybody gets executive plat by midsummer in order to shoot the show. Why not? Man. Pepsi fan brings up a good point. An achievement hunter experience at RTX.
Oh, absolutely.
Can we pretty please?
Well, because last year was the escape room. The year before was the Five Nights
at,
and then the year before that, Murder at the RTX. That was so much fun.
Right.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It'll be interesting to see what they have this year.
You could do an achievement hunter escape room. You could do kind of a combination where you do have to go around looking for clues for haunted things. Like that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot to gain from this franchise, and I remember the name being dropped like months ago and not expecting the amount of budget that this show got. This was a television pilot. This wasn't just a pilot for the internet. This is a television pilot, as was to kind of pivot, as do I feel Branded was.
Yeah, let's talk about Branded.
But I think it was the opposite of Achievement Hunter, where Achievement Hunter took the characters that we know from being fans of this franchise, and it helped us sort of, they get to do something else, and also they're characters that I think anybody on television would be interested in, and it put them in the limelight. Whereas with Branded, and I know they've had some success when it comes to shows without featuring Rooster Teeth talent, and there was some in this. Lee Eddy was a guest part.
She was a joy.
Joel was a guest part. Bernie was a guest part, but ultimately this to me, this felt like Rooster Teeth trying to be mainstream Hollywood when they're not, and they were trying too much to follow a show type that has been done to death. And to be perfectly honest, I couldn't finish watching the show. I couldn't get all the way through it. I probably got through most of Act 1, and I couldn't keep watching it.
I got all the way through it, but it would be a lie to say that it had my full attention.
And you guys are both doing better than me, because I saw the minute-long clip that they put on Twitter when they released it, watched that clip, and went, nope.
Was it the clip with Joel?
Yeah.
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 When your, hey, here's our new pilot, check it out clip is kind of an extended implied pedophilia / sex offender joke that's not a good look.
It's
not
a shame, because for me, I look at this idea. The idea is that this guy who's been out of work for about 6 months, he applies for a position at an internet ad company, and it turns out that nobody at the company has any idea what they're doing. Its leadership is completely in over its head. They don't know anything about internet analytics. The man in charge gives production like about a day to shoot a promo for that he promised to a potential client. Promising millions and millions of hits on YouTube. So like the idea of this kind of guy who is competent ending up at a place where it's just constant chaos and nobody knowing what they're doing in the digital space, I feel like that's a good idea. Like there's a lot of potential for comedy there, but for whatever reason, just nothing in this grabbed me. Nothing felt authentic. It felt like, I won't even say it felt like Parks and Rec when it first was starting out, because Parks and Rec tried so hard to be The Office during that first season and a half.
I think that's a good description. Is it's trying to be something other than what it should be, and maybe given the time, it finds its own identity. But similarly to what you're saying, I was seeing these characters and I went, oh, that reminds me of this person. That reminds me of this person. Instead of give me somebody new to feel.
You know what? We talked about this potentially having been a script that was sitting around for a long time. It would make sense to me if this was something that was initially written during the recession, in all honesty, because otherwise, why would this very competent guy be so desperate for work? I know times are hard for everybody, but like, I'm wondering if it was something that was written during the recession because this guy was so desperate for a gig, and then also that style of filmmaking and television was in at the moment. So I'm wondering if maybe it's just a dated idea.
So this was something that, if it was in the vault, maybe should have stayed in the vault.
Well,
Or been properly updated.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I would preface this by saying this: I enjoyed Laser Team.
Yeah,
but it was a very like year 1 or 2 Rooster Teeth idea. It was it was like I'll just say no female representation. The one female lead that they had was a ditzy blonde object. That's a good way to put it.
I concur 100%.
And like, I wouldn't have caught that if I didn't have, because I'm a dumb boy. I would have caught that if I wasn't sitting there watching the movie with my wife, who like, it was just like, and she was like, I would figure with a company that's so forward thinking with the diversity of a cast of Ruby and of Camp, and at the time that's all she had seen. But like, just knowing Ruby and then looking at Laser Team and saying that's the same company was very hard to believe.
Yeah.
And it's similar, and in a similar thing with this pilot, it feels like a dated Rooster Teeth concept. And the Joel scene seemed more like a let's make fun of Joel as opposed to let's put a good joke in here. But it seems very disconnected.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
To connect that with something else, to move on to something a little more positive, exactly, I want to talk about Gork's Quest.
Robot.
For those of you listening on the podcast, I started talking and Mark started doing the robot, so, read my mind.
Oh, what was the toy? They took an old toy that was one of those cassette, and I had it. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They took the toy and then they redid it as Gork. So Gork, I forget what the acronym stands for.
It kind of looks like the Virtual Boy a little bit, but I know that's probably not what you're
Oh,
thinking.
no, it kind of looks like Rob. It's a mixture of Rob and another one. It was like a robot Teddy Ruxpin.
I know what you're talking about with the robot Teddy Ruxpin thing. We never had one, and the mouth lit up when it did the thing. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called. Hey, chat, you want to help us out a little for that?
Well, in between. Steve, we got you.
Yeah.
With Gork's Quest, it's this robot that instead of being all intelligent is no intelligent.
Supercomputer, they called it.
And
stupid supercomputer.
And it asks questions in order to build its intelligence. And it's these weird out of left field questions that a panel tries to answer. It's sort of a game show format. It's fun. It's light. The first cast was great. I would like to see a little bit more. It was a lot of Let's Play people. I would like to see more
like a rotating panel.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the same people every time.
Yeah.
But for a pilot, I would have liked to see a lady on the dais.
I was thinking about that. I was like,
there are no women here.
I was like, there are no women here, and I'm seeing very little diversity.
Thank you, Danger. Generator of random questions is Gork.
Thank you. There we go. The thing that stuck out to me is I really hope they change the voice filter that Gork is using. Because when it was the panel talking amongst themselves, when we had the which captain would you have replace Captain America, I was howling laughing at the Captain Planet bit. And then figure, oh, well, you give Thor the fire ring and you give Iron Man the heart ring. It's just, I laughed so hard. And then we kind of segued into Gork talking for a few minutes in a row, and then the show just lost me. Like, it was hysterical when it was these four guys bouncing off of this ridiculous question. But when we tossed the ball back to the robot and the robot talked for a few minutes straight, all I got was, oh my God, that voice. So I liked it, but there's definitely room for improvement on the technical side.
And also a lot to learn from. Like,
yes,
all of these pilots, even though we really liked Achievement Hunter, everything has something to learn from a pilot. And
absolutely.
And I think I've got to hand it to Rooster Teeth by putting all these ideas, regardless of how they felt about them, putting them out into the forefront and letting the people truly decide. And I really hope, like, not that our voices are any else better than any of the rest of the community, but I hope that you're listening, because I haven't seen too many people dive deeper into them. But yeah.
Yeah, I have to concur with both actually assessments. I find the robot voice very grating. That being said, this was a fun show. Yeah. The personalities were great, the conversations were great. My only complaint is that which sounds kind of weird, is that when it comes to watching a show, because we here are at a table panel, when it comes to shows like this, I actually prefer listening to them in podcast format as opposed to actually watching them on my TV or on my computer. So like when I started watching it, I found my eyes like drifting to my phone or to other things that I had to do and to my emails, because I got into, I'm listening to something, I need to be productive with my hands. So as I'm wondering if I don't think that it necessarily needs to be relegated to an audio format. That's just the format that I think I would enjoy it better.
Yeah, and I think that's why and when it comes to production value and everything and all of that, I think that's why this one's going to win out as well as Murder Room, even though we haven't seen it yet, because it's cheap. It's a couple of hours. Maybe you can block shoot because it's not time sensitive. And it does work as an audio format, so you can release that as a podcast as well. But then I think that's why the transitions from round to round, they had it be this ever evolving thing, and people were commenting about it. So I think in a couple of weeks, when everybody knows what the transition things are, I think a lot more people are just going to be listening to it.
Yeah. I do want to say though that out of all of the shows, that one looks like it's the most fun to work on, because you got your beer and you got your friends and you just sit and riff off of each other.
Talking to a dumb robot about stupid stuff and getting points.
And you improvise with these ridiculous questions. Again, the conversation about Captain Planet and then giving the Avengers the different rings. I wanted to sit down and have 15 minutes more of that conversation. Like, which Avenger would you assign to each ring and why? And how would you, like, no, I'm in. That's the kind of conversation I love. It's definitely the sort of show I would love to be a part of,
compared to like, hey, Megan, go to a haunted house and have people dress up as nuns and scare the crap out of
That's
you.
a little surprising.
See, I think you would enjoy it if you were the one dressed up as the nun scaring the crap out of me.
See, I love horror movies, but as a minority, I never want to end up in a horror movie.
Fair, that's fair.
That's just my ever-present fear.
Very fair.
I mean, at this table, I have the highest chance of surviving a horror movie.
Just given Final Girl
given
material.
the Final Girl stereotype.
But like I said, it looks like so much fun.
Yeah. And Murder Room looks like fun as well, just from what we've been seeing from trailers and the team. Risinger, Gus, Barbara, and Damaris, I think? Chris Damaris?
So.
I would have
If I
to
remember
check
correctly.
again.
I think you're right. I remember a lot of fluff, and that's probably Chris.
The fluffy boy. But speaking of fluffy boys, weird transition. $1 Million Butt Animated
very weird.
got released today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
And it's exactly what we thought it would be.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm a little sad that it's only one scenario. Now, I know animation costs time and money, and it's a lot. I figured that by switching to animated, they would do a lot more outlandish things, which they did.
They definitely
But
did.
I thought it would be a little bit more of a full episode as opposed to a 2-minute single scenario thing. But we got a classic $1 Million Butt group.
Maybe. Oh, go ahead.
When you put animated at the end of something, to me, I immediately think of RTAA, and to me that's a 2 to 5 minute story and it's animated. So MDBA, okay, it's animated. It's going to be a 2 to 5 minute story, and so I wasn't really surprised to see that it was that short. And I wouldn't be surprised if they kept that format and did it weekly or bi-weekly. I know there's probably a lot more. It's probably more complicated than RTAA, just given the different art style and using colors that are more than just blue and gray and white and etc.
Never read.
But I would not be surprised to see them keep it and have it be every other week.
It makes... I was also surprised because I was expecting a full 15-minute, 24-minute thing. At least like a 15-minute thing, like the first episode of Camp. But it does make sense in the context of how animated videos like that are presented on the internet. I'll use a great example. Adam Ruins Everything started releasing animated episodes, and they chop those up and put them on the internet as well. And it's actually a very similar art style. And so it's one of those things where it's like shorter videos tend to get more hits when it comes to stuff like that. So it makes a lot of sense that it's like, here's this, like you said, 2 to 3 minute thing. Let's animate it. It's going to be funny. It's not going to overstay its welcome. Boom. There, it's done.
It's a franchise that sells a brand and a product because you can pick $1 million butt from the RT store or on Amazon.
That being said, I would watch 15, 20 minutes of just animated shenanigans.
And that's, it's very, you're a genius. Hire us, pay us.
Please,
I mean, like
please do.
Like you haven't thought of this already. But it's one of those things where regardless, if I start watching $1 Million Butt, I keep watching it. I leave it on autoplay on YouTube or on the site or wherever I'm watching it. I just watch a bunch. Or if I show my wife a new episode, I go, "Have you not seen a couple? Let's watch some more." So to me, as a consumer, I'm already and an RT fan. I'm already here, and I'm already like, "Oh, the one where you randomly get teleported every time you sneeze." You know, let's
the murder snail, the this, the that.
So it like the jumping around as a fan makes sense, and that's why I want more, and I always want more because we're consumers. I just got renewed for my first membership, but it's one of those things where that makes total sense. This is for Facebook. This is for people to see $1 Million Butt. RT game available now. It's like the ad with the thing, and then right under it is you can buy the game right now. That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
So I'm not at all surprised by that pilot, but that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'd say 3 of the 4 I think would be pretty good to be picked up, and then also there's Branded, but
Branded would have to be
opinions on that.
Branded would have to be completely retooled.
It would.
Yeah. Which I feel bad saying because the performances were fairly solid. It's just there wasn't a whole lot to work with.
And I want to give
that's life.
all of I feel bad because the actors they got a job with a nice company, a big internet production company, and I want to know more details. I want to know when this happened, like how long ago was it? Have they been sitting on it? I feel bad not to like it, you know, knowing the people that we know involved with the show. It's like they didn't do poorly.
I feel like IMDb could answer some of those questions.
Whenever Rooster Teeth puts out something that doesn't necessarily grab me, I'm always like, how do we fix this? Can we fix this?
Well, you're more patient than I am. I'm like, that was nice. Is the next Red versus Blue out yet?
There are a couple of series where they're like, don't bother. And I'm not gonna...
I remember Miles making the joke about Strangerhood when it came to... Yeah, no, there are some series that are best left where they are. But we have some new pilots, and if you're looking for yet another new show, well, we've got something else for you.
Well, guys, if you all want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life, Conversations with Maria Menounos is the podcast for you. Maria has been supportive of us here at this platform for us to get to talk about the thing that we love, Rooster Teeth. And if you guys follow her podcast, she'll tell you all about the experiences of her life when it comes to finances, relationships. She just has a wealth of experience.
She's a cancer survivor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's had such an amazing life, and we're not just saying this because we work for her. She's a great human being, and go check out Conversations with Maria Menounos podcast edition and learn something. Go through the archive, find an episode that piques your interest, check it out. You won't be disappointed. It's a great thing to listen to, and if you do go, just let her know that we sent you. Just the Rooster team, let them know that we sent you. But Maria supports us. We support her. Support somebody who supports us, and she's been really influential with keeping us up and running and making sure we have a platform. So make sure to support her platform as well.
Yep. Do the thing. Listen to the stuff. It's wonderful. Add it to your pilot month viewing.
Yeah, exactly. It's pilot month. You're giving stuff a chance already. Give Conversations with Maria Menounos podcast edition a try today.
Yeah. Fun guests, fun stories. You won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of fun stories, let's wander into Red versus Blue, and I think this is when I put in the official request for a little more time tonight because we've got a couple fun things to talk about.
Achievement Hunter, like let's talk about.
But before we get into it, really quickly, we've had somebody that's joined the show as a viewer. recently, for our most recent season, Nicholas Brennan. It is their birthday today. And they've been super supportive and very responsive in chat. And we wanted to let you know that we appreciate you as a viewer. And we hope that you have a most sincere and fun birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy
birthday, you lovely human being.
Oh,
There's copyright infringement. But, you know, we wanted to make sure that we shouted you out. And thank you for coming along on this ride with us.
This is your birthday song. It isn't very long.
I hope you have something wonderful planned today. Because you deserve to have a good day.
I hope you're not on the East Coast because it's already tomorrow. But either way, come more play.
Harper Burfdar, yes. I hope you had pizza for dinner tonight because pizza is wonderful.
Happy name day.
Happy name day. Let's talk a little bit about vegan pizza. Yay
Do
or
we
nay?
have to?
I've had vegan pizza. It's actually pretty solid. It depends on what the recipe is and who you get it from.
See, I am 100% just give me my pepperoni, my stuffed crust, some sausage on there if you want to be fancy. But like, I would be open to vegan pizza. Just don't do what Doc did and tell me what's in it. Just say here it's vegan and it's cheese and that's don't give me any other details.
If it looks pretty good, the cheese looks like it melted pretty well. Sure, I'll give it a shot. Cauliflower crust, I'm gonna give that a shot.
Cauliflower's good. Yeah.
There are ways to make vegan food that doesn't come across as vegan food. Like, it's food and it's vegan, as opposed to it's vegan food. We get a lot of the latter in LA, let me tell you. Like, there's vegan, and then there's I had lunch at the Earth Cafe, and that's the egregiously vegan layer of things. And so Doc, I think, went a little...
You burnt Earth Cafe.
Get wrecked.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Earth Cafe. They definitely have a shtick, and they shtick to it.
Hurry up. We're turning into the RT podcast. We're talking about local food. Let's stay on. Let's stay on.
Someone on the East Coast is Googling the Earth Cafe like, what the hell are they talking about? You'll see. So, yeah. Vegan pizza and poor Griff.
I admire Doc's patience because he's like, we've gone back in time. Griff, you don't speak a word of Italian, so you're not going to be able to adequately convey how they need to make pizza. Just make it yourself, and you will be rich and successful.
And there are no tomatoes in ancient Italy because they are native to the Americas. Oops.
Wah, wah.
So Doc really is doing his best. And Griff is pouty and unhappy anyway, because let's be real, he's the kid that got dragged on the road trip after not wanting to go and digging his heels in, and he's just not going to be happy regardless. And then we find out Doc's backstory.
Yeah, so before we get into that, and at the end of that where I have some opinions, Griff is one of those people, and I've talked about it previously. He is the comedic lead in this particular season because he is just the normal guy, where quote normal, that everything bad happens to him, and it's funny because he can never win. Even when they're in Italy, Doc makes pizza. It's not what he wants. So Griff and his situation is continuously funny, but we've all been there. There's all been one type of food.
We've all been stuck back in time,
yes.
Unable to obtain pizza?
Yes, and about that. No,
we've all wanted pizza and not gotten it.
We've all wanted something and not gotten it, whether it's pizza, whether it's experience, whether it's whatever. We've all been there. So it's really hard to continuously watch somebody not get what they want. And it's funny. It's funny.
But you feel for him.
Yeah, you do.
Especially when it's something you can empathize with as much as wanting pizza. That is a huge thing that I sympathize, I empathize. I get you, Griff. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I also feel like pizza is the thing he's fixating on, and pizza is the thing he's been fixating on because it's so much easier than trying to deal with everything else. Time travel and vengeful gods and all of this other bullshit that he's been trying really hard to avoid. No, he just wants a pizza.
And
We're going to tick off the box for the simple things before we tackle any of that cosmic stuff.
And I definitely think there's going to be a switch at the end of pizza being representative of something that he doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
about pizza.
No, it's inevitable.
As much as he
mean,
screams and
It's
I mean,
about
it
pizza,
is.
but
But it's
also.
not really
But-
about
And he won't get pizza until he deals with the problem that he's trying to use pizza to avoid.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But I gotta be honest, as much as I enjoy Griff and his grief in this scenario,
Grief.
I was not expecting what we get from Doc. I was completely caught off guard, and I didn't quite know how to process it, to be honest.
I think you just kind of file Doc with Donut in characters that you don't really expect to have a backstory. Like, Donuts, we actually do get bits and pieces about he was raised on a farm. It was very repressed and very repressive. Like, we get, I think it's actually in the award show DVD, we get some commentary about how his upbringing was not super happy. But we don't really consider that with Donut because he's Donut, and we don't really consider that with Doc because he's Doc. With that same inflection, like when you get that inflection about a character, it's like, oh, but they're just this, it's fine. And then you get that backstory that you are not expecting and go, oh, this fits with everything we know about the character, and oh.
Well, I mean, to join a war effort as a pacifist, or pedophile, whatever, is
No, that's Brandon.
oh, okay. But that's one of
You're
of
thinking of a
those.
pacifier.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I was thinking about something.
Deep cuts.
I was thinking about something completely different.
But it's one of those things where you never think about it until they mention it.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
It never comes up until it does.
Wacky space comedy? No, my brother.
Yeah, you don't really consider them to be the type of characters that have capital B backstories. Like, that's freelancer territory. They're the ones that have all the angst and the horrible stuff in their past. Everyone else is just kind of like, a couple things happened and you deal with it. Which is not the case here.
Makes the psychotic break with his personality a little bit more tragic, because this is somebody who had to live through the death of a family member, something that was potentially his fault.
Or that he at least sees as his fault.
Definitely sees as his fault. And he still, managed to move on, or as far as we can tell. And then to have, like, the psychotic break happen after all of that, it's like, that says a lot about his internal strength as a character.
Oh, yeah. And the psychotic break happening after he has the influence of a homicidal AI and after he winds up stuck in a void for God knows how long. Like, yeah.
So there's a couple of things that I had an issue with in this scene. And I mean, from here till the end of the show. And we got the scene and Doc's spilling his heart. And then Griff was already asleep. So that was something that was ostensibly for the audience. Griff never heard it. So the purpose of revealing that to the audience, or to if the gods are watching, if that's something for if that's something that we're ever going to get fulfilled or not, but is that Doc telling the story?
Yeah.
Is that O'Malley trying to tell a story and failing because Doc's such a loser that he doesn't even know that Griff's asleep? But that's not a story that you try to make that joke with. There's a lot of moving pieces to that made me go, well, that doesn't quite make sense.
I feel like Griff was pretending to be asleep. I feel like he was pretending to be asleep. And it's the one thing that could make Griff turn around, because he himself is an older sibling.
That's true.
Okay.
Which is why he eventually comes around at the end of the episode.
And was
Go ahead.
Was that the moment that made Doc was really trying and really trying and really trying, and that was the breaking point of O'Malley coming back?
I think the aside of sorry, Deke, I think that request was genuine, but it was either request denied or it was O'Malley subtly kind of steering him in that direction, because O'Malley ends up taking the driver's seat at the end.
Well, using the point of, I'm sorry, go ahead. You go ahead first.
I honestly think that that entire story was Doc and that he was telling it in earnest, again, because of the apology to his brother. And I think that Griff was awake long enough to hear the first bits, the first I had a brother past tense. And honestly, that's enough. Your brain thinks about things when you're asleep, and he could have woken up feeling better and feeling a little guilty, like, oh, had, past tense. All right, and he did try to make me a pizza, even if he failed, and... Like, I can definitely see the storytelling from Doc was genuine. O'Malley took over while Griff was asleep. And Griff heard enough of the story to really be able to think about it and go, oh, okay, yeah, let's throw him a bone.
Playing with the fourth wall of it all, though, Asia246222 brings up a great point in chat. The term deek, I don't know if anybody used to watch Mighty Ducks. The move, the triple deke, was sort of like a fake out, and it is defined as a feint meant to maneuver your opponent into a vulnerable position. So it could be a fourth wall breaking. It could have been a fourth wall breaking thing going, this is a deke. You're about to get turned on your head. Whether it's short term or long term, we have yet to see. But it could have just been a fun merging of ideas.
I like
Could
that.
be. I thought it was just, okay, it's one letter off from Doc. We're still kind of leaning into name jokes. Which there's nothing wrong with leaning into name jokes.
And that was to take your mind off of if people know what a deke is, that was to sort of whoop.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Well,
I love our chat.
Request for
Join us
more
live.
time is unfortunately not going to pan out, so we have a couple more points to cover before we need to wander on out of here. O'Malley is definitely back, has one of the time machines, and has left Griff stranded in the past with Muggins.
I love that insane megalomaniac.
And somebody else brought up in chat, that's why Doc was locked up with the Blues and Reds, is because it was O'Malley and not Doc. And Doc didn't know. Doc wasn't present for that.
It's possible. He was certainly acting like Doc, though, in which case O'Malley has become a hell of an actor because he didn't used to be.
We're back to Shiznose, and O'Malley is the main bad guy. I still feel like this is just
Where's
a big
Gamma?
Retread of season 2, and I mean that in the nicest possible
In a
way.
good way. In a good way.
Where's Gamma and where's the Great Destroyer? Is the Great Destroyer him? Which would not at all surprise me. And speaking of him, we've got one more God cameo to talk about. We have Sister and Tucker and the historical sex fails. I thought the Catherine the Great and Christopher Reeve jokes were good. I cringed at the Paul Walker joke, not gonna lie.
Fell a
That
little,
was-
little too soon.
I think that's gonna continue to be too soon for a while.
Drift is life.
I gotta say, if I had the choice of having a supernatural hype man and a laser show, like
And a cosmic air horn.
yeah, anytime I made an entrance, I would absolutely take that
Okay,
opportunity.
we were just talking about time traveling sex fails, and you went, if I had my druthers, and I had no idea where the conversation was going.
I was definitely expecting like a time travel sex. If I could do anyone,
No,
like, oh, woo! I don't think, you know what? I don't think we have time for that. That is,
Sorry, Matt Damon.
yeah, no, but that,
Well,
I love
as
that
we learn, if you try to do that, you're just gonna end up killing that historical figure.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I do love that it turned into let's have hate sex. Like, it's just fun. I kind of figured that this would eventually go into that
sex is
territory.
No, we were complaining about that their interactions, in the last recap show. However, when they're back and forth is that belligerent, and then it kind of escalates to that point, I do find it more endearing. I'm like, okay, no, I'm back on board.
These two people can really only connect agitated. Like not just to each other, but to others, and that's one of the things that they have in common. And they can't. They're two people that are so much alike that they can't stand being around each other because they remind each other of their own BS.
Well, yeah,
That's
they're blue
great.
team.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Hashtag blue team problems. And of course, we have Atlas showing up and doing the whole I am a benevolent and merciful God. If you give up your time traveling, then I won't kill you all. And they're both just completely drunk out of their minds
Oh man.
on alcohol and also not motor oil, antifreeze,
Antifreeze.
which is poison. Don't do that.
I think I can believe Sister drinking it. and surviving. And
Because
Tucker,
she's
maybe,
lived through so much.
oh my God.
Yeah.
But also I can believe Tucker because of how his biology changed with his child.
That's
Maybe
fair.
it allowed him a couple of, you can have some antifreeze from time to time again.
See, I will just believe it as dumb jokes. Let's go. Like there's some stuff in RVB canon that I will try to explain with other pieces of canon, and there's some stuff where it's like, blue team.
Let's be honest, they're both a little extra. Like
A little.
just a little bit.
They're both extremely extra, so we... Oh my God, my prog rock band called "They Want Their Album Cover Back." Just them.
I do
ragging on Atlas.
think the punchline of, hey, do you think it's weird that we're having the exact same hallucination
I was
at the
waiting
same
for
time?
that. I was waiting
Yeah.
for that in the line.
Yeah,
That was a great punchline.
I mean, having not seen the next episode, I'm still pretty sure they're not dead because the whole "they have his protection" thing, and I'm doing jazz hands for those of you listening in the audio.
You think
yeah.
you've seen everything that Red versus Blue can throw at you, and then you watch the next episode.
I never think I've seen everything that Red versus Blue can throw at me. I've been here long enough to know that they just...
But
That's actually, I was going to say that's next week, and that is incorrect. Guys, we're swinging into Camp next week.
yes, we are.
So in
We
2
are.
weeks, we will be back with 2 RVB episodes, but next week, we are coming back with the Camp season premiere.
And to sort of preview and talk about everything, it's going to be just the season premiere, and we're going to make sure that we have enough time to cover everything and preview where we're going to be headed, as well as talk about some of the stuff that's changed when it comes to season 3. And hopefully we'll have a really cool announcement to make next week. Hopefully. But
And we'll have the return of camp activities.
camp activities, and for those of you who forgot, for No Men of Nowhere, we want you to make your own minion and send them in to us. We haven't gotten any yet. Please send them.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do that, and then after we're gonna be going into a back and forth of 1 week being 2 episodes of Red vs. Blue, the next week being 2 episodes of Camp ad nauseum until they keep adding stuff. The network's actually been talking to us about expanding the show because they like us. Like this is what we've been telling you. We tell you this
Yeah.
every week. The more you support this show, the more people take notice and the more we can do. So if you do us the favor of leaving us the iTunes reviews of which we didn't have any new this week, shame. But thank you.
Tell your friends, tell your friends.
Tag us, tag the network, and let everybody know that this is a place to be. This is where Rooster Teeth fans can come and really share in the discussion. Please, it can only help us grow and do more and give more time to stuff like Pilot Month, like more live action stuff. It can only help us, but that starts with you. And we want to thank everybody who's come along with us on this journey. So please just keep spreading the good word.
Yeah, support us, supporting you, supporting us, supporting you.
And support us
We'll
by going
love each
to
other.
tpublic.com/theroosterteam.
Yes, and to youtube.com/theroosterteam to listen to Welcome to Vale.
Yep.
Oh, please.
We got
And
2
all of
episodes
those
up.
wonderful.
Go check it out.
Tumblr loves them.
Oh, do they?
Tumblr loves them.
Oh, okay.
Although I do have to say that is a fan-made production that's not actually produced by Welcome to Night Vale. There was some confusion on Tumblr.
Great.
Yeah.
I
That makes me
find
happy.
that immensely flattering.
Oh yeah. But in the meantime, we need to wander off until next week when we will wander back into Camp Campbell. So for now, Mark, where can the people find
You
you?
can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica. If you're a Camp fan, I'm currently doing a really big build in Minecraft of Lake Lilac. I did my first stream last week. I was in costume and everything, where I've almost got the majority of Camp Campbell done. It was just a fun conversation. I'm trying to make it as weekly of a thing as possible, where we talk a little bit about the episode that airs, as well as just I can't not love being in the world of this show, and the fact that it's back, and the fact that it's back and really coming out swinging. I am excited to talk about it next week, but please head over to twitch.tv/inventoryfullpt. You can find it. It's called Building Camp Campbell. I had an absolute blast. Caitlin, a friend of the show, Caitlin, was there in chat with us. So please go check it out. Support Inventory Full PT, because I'm going to be talking about Camp ad nauseum while building it in Minecraft. Thank you.
I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Recently, I was a guest on the Red Room podcast hosted by Lucretia Lyon. It was an ABTV Evil Dead reunion for any of you guys who are interested in that. Also, be sure to check me out on the new podcast, No Love Lost, a lost retrospective between someone who loves it and me. Who doesn't?
That is a really great pitch. And I'm Katie Cullen. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I recently did a charity stream for my local cat shelter. That charity thing is still going on. I'm also going to try and stream a little more frequently. If you like seeing reactions to these episodes we've been covering, they live on that YouTube channel. I was recently a guest on Lucretia's podcast, Mrs. Brightside. We talk about fandom, including me indoctrinating her to Red vs. Blue, which she had never seen before. It's super fun. Check all of that out. Be sure to follow our fourth Stacey Shuttleworth at Stacey Shuttles. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week at Camp Campbell.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Vegan pizza?
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.